Oh, it's so sunny up here. There goes my hero. I think he's gonna be. Oh no! Oh no! Oh, Jessica.
Why'd you choose this scene?
Oh,
Why'd
Jessica.
you choose this scene?
I didn't.
Why'd you choose this scene? It could have been any other scene.
He's like, whoa. That is a long, quiet flight home on the back of Vhagar.
I'm so mad. Why did you start with that one?
I mean, that was the most shocking moment of the episode. I hate
that scene. No, Boris Baratheon not being able to read.
There's other scenes from this episode we could have watched, but they were so tragic.
Why didn't we watch the first 5 minutes? If you thought you had enough of baby deaths, let me tell you.
Oh my
gosh. How many stillborns?
I think
3 at least.
I think we see like 4 childbirth scenes in this show.
We get the very first one. We get Lyanna, and then we get Rhaenyra.
2 from Rhaenyra. And
2, yeah, that's 4 babies.
4 baby birth scenes, 1 baby making it. Babies are hard. Having babies is tough in Westeros. It's tough stuff.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. Welcome back, you guys. It's the end of the road for season 1 of House of the Dragon, and it's time to see how Rhaenyra reacts to everything that happened in King's Landing last week. This episode has the equivalent of nerves of like uncut gems.
Oof.
From
very
minute
chaotic.
2, right as soon as the beginning intro credits end, to the very last second, I was on the edge of my seat. Oh my God, what will be the actions that the Black Queen takes? Well, we may have to wait until season 2 to find out, which kind of sucks, but it gives you time to read the book, and then we can talk more about it offline. This is Big Question Presents Talking Dragons, our weekly fantasy after show. I'm Jessica Clemons here with Brandon Barrick.
I like Jessica, you said we could talk about it offline to everyone out there who we'd have to talk to online about it.
No, they can tweet me.
Tweet me, come to my house.
Come to my house. Yeah, we'll eat some cheese. We'll eat some cheese.
Don't bring up cheese.
What? Sorry.
We're going to talk about the last episode of House of the Dragon Season 1. We're not going to spoil anything that's coming up. We'll talk about things that happened in the book leading up to this moment. We'll talk about things that happened in Game of Thrones much later on in the timeline. You've all already seen it, I'm sure. But we're going to keep this as spoiler-free as possible to talk about the end of the season. I can't believe the end of the season is already here. It's so sad. And it's maybe 2 years before we get the next season.
I don't even want to talk about it.
They better be filming tomorrow. Get into it.
I genuinely was like, do you think they shot like an episode 11 just in case?
Just in case they
want to throw it in there really quick just to start things up.
Kind of like Sandman. They kind of released that surprise episode.
Yeah, they were like,
do they have a surprise episode 11? I don't think so.
They remember that they did get this episode leaked and they were very pissed about it. So maybe they're like, we're not going to give you that episode.
Yeah.
Because you guys are bad boys.
We are bad boys. So let's dive into the final episode of season 1, The Black Queen. We open on Lucerys examining the spot of driftmark on the painted table in Dragonstone. Much more about this table later. He's worried about taking over as Lord of the Tides. Don't worry, my guy. You're never going to be Lord of the Tides.
Why would you say that? That's not funny. That's not funny.
Rhaenyra reminds him that it's his duty, and in time he will learn to accept it. She also has a good point here about like destiny chooses us. We don't get to choose our destiny. Oh boy. Rhaenys arrives and brings word of Viserys' death. She skips the pleasantry and gets right to the point. Aegon has been crowned king. This news brings pain to a pregnant Rhaenyra, who realizes she's now in labor, even though the Maesters think it's way too early, and she kind of knows it. I love how from the moment that the news comes, she just immediately like doubles over in pain.
Yeah, her body was afflicted.
It was afflicted. Daemon immediately assumes Viserys was killed and goes into war mode. He moves to protect the island with their meager forces. He even wants the Dragon Keepers to defend as they're capable fighters. I love that. Like the Dragon Keepers know how to fight. Put them out there with their pitchforks. Let's go. All the while, Rhaenyra is calling out for him in labor pains. You can hear her in the room with the painted table where he's like trying to strategize. She's calling for him, and he can hear it, and he's just ignoring it. Remember, Rhaenyra's biggest fear was like childbirth. She watched her mother die, or didn't watch it, but her mother died during childbirth. Yeah. She was always afraid of having kids. She's had a few successfully at this point, but now she knows something's wrong. She's pushing off the nurses. Yeah. She's like, no, I'll do it myself. And like, really, it's like she can't be pregnant right now. She's like, this is the one time, like, I need to be queen.
Right now
I need to get into action, and now is not the time.
And like normal labor is like, what, like 12 hours? And she's just like, I'm going to push this shit out in 2.
She's forcing it, and everyone's like, whoa. And she's like, no, we're good.
Let me help. Get away from me.
Get away from me.
She goes, grabs that baby by the head like a basketball, pulls it out. I genuinely was like, Hardcore.
Metal
as hell.
Hardcore.
I was like, last woman I'm going to mess with in Westeros. You're out of your mind. Okay, so Rhaenyra brings her kids up to speed while in the pain of childbirth. She reminds Jacaerys that she's still in charge despite how Daemon feels about the situation because he is ignoring her at that table that lights up like a little light break. Daemon wants to check in on the loyalty of their bannermen as well as their local Kingsguard in the presence of Caraxes. An interesting lesson for Jacaerys.
Yeah. He's like, I'll show you what loyalty is all about. I think this is very important for Jacaerys to see that, like, the dragons, they rule.
Yeah, and I mean, he took that to heart later on when he's like, they will obey us with our dragons. didn't think a massive dragon would have to go up against you. Daemon makes it to Rhaenyra just in time to see that their child did not survive it. Rhaenyra does the work of the Silent Sisters herself, preparing the child for the afterlife, wrapping the little baby up. A funeral is held for the child with all of the residents of Dragonstone present.
I did like the kind of juxtaposition of like this funeral from the one
her mom's.
The one in episode 1 with like another wrapped up little baby that didn't survive.
Well, they also had like a grown woman. This one's like a newborn, so you could just throw it in a little pile of sticks, you know. What? The baby's not alive. Okay. Anyways, don't edit that part out. Don't need people to know about me and babies. And just then, Eric with an E, he arrives. The twin, you remember him?
Eric Cargill, yeah.
Yeah, Eric Cargill. He has Viserys' crown. He stole it and is here to give it to Rhaenyra and swear his loyalty to her. Daemon crowns her, and everyone present kneels except for Rhaenys.
Good old Rhaenys.
Rhaenys said, "I don't have time.
I'm gonna talk to my husband first.
Give me a second.
Yeah.
Leave me out of this." But I like that, like, his speech. I didn't know that maybe I just haven't been paying attention that much, that whole speech of like, I will never wife, I will not have children, I will do nothing because I will keep your secrets and I will be with you alongside you till I die.
That's the Kingsguard oath, is like, from this moment on, I won't get married, I won't have kids, I'm here for you. Because the idea being that like a Kingsguard can't have these other things that he's worried about. They need to be worried about the king. I love, Rhaenys doesn't bow, which is interesting because like, when Corlys was out before, right, she's like, I'll take over, I'm the boss, let's go. But this is like a great thing of like, well, Corlys is in charge of the Navy, I'll wait until see what he says. I also love that Rhaenys is in a unique position where, again, she's at a crowning ceremony where she's the queen that never was, right? She sees yet another person get crowned. She's also the only one to see how both Alicent and Rhaenyra react to the death of Viserys, right? She is this kind of like, she sees how both sides react to the situation, which I think is very interesting. That beautiful painted table is prepared for war. They turn on the lights. Adorable. Do you think Stannis Baratheon ever knew that he could like put 100%. The lights underneath?
Absolutely not.
Very helpful.
I can guarantee you he didn't.
Very helpful. I mean, it was such a cool effect. They kind of gave it away in the trailer for this episode. But it was really cool seeing it all lit up like that. Rhaenyra and Daemon jockey for control. They both kind of have their own ideas of how things should go. Daemon is very happy to list off their dragon superiority. You know, it gets brought up like, hey, you guys have dragons. Why don't we just go deal with this? And Daemon's like, yeah, we do have dragons. We learn that there are a few unclaimed dragons at Dragonstone. And most importantly, Laenor's old dragon, Sea Smoke, is still back at Driftmark. I thought it would already be at Dragonstone, but no, it's still back at Driftmark.
That makes sense.
So according to Daemon, the Blacks have 13 dragons to the Greens 4. We'll update that number in a little bit. Rhaenyra is quick to point out that none of the Blacks' dragons have ever seen war. Like, the only really war dragon out there right now is Vhagar.
Which really knows. It's stupid, not to be mean. Yeah. No, never mind. It's not stupid. She meant her dragons. The Blacks are her, Alicent's the green. Because I was like,
she's like, we have all these dragons, but they like have not seen battle yet.
I love that line.
We don't know how they're gonna react out there.
I love that line has been brought up twice because if we remember from like the very, I think it was the second episode where they were doing the jousting and they were like, that was the first episode when they were like, these boys haven't seen war, so they're freaking crazy.
Like, these like knights, they're pretend fighting all the time, and so they're happy to like bludgeon each other at a friendly joust. Otto Hightower arrives at Dragonstone in a juxtaposition to earlier in the season when he showed up at Dragonstone to face off with Daemon. He and Daemon meet on that same bridge. They kind of have like the exact same positioning. Rhaenyra flies down on Syrax and lands in the same place, kind of cutting them off. It's a very interesting juxtaposition to what we had seen before. Otto has an offer. Pledge obeisance to Aegon, and Rhaenyra can keep Dragonstone, and her heirs can take Driftmark and have a place in the court. Otto is basically like, we have the high ground. All the small folk, they saw this boy get crowned.
This. You love this. You want to be a little
here.
servant, little servant boy.
Your children
maid.
can be cupbearers.
Yeah.
You were a cupbearer.
You liked it. You drank. You went sip before you gave to Papa.
Delicious. Don't even try it. Aegon's wearing the Conqueror's crown. He's got black fire. The Septons were there. A dragon came out of the floor, but no one cares. It was great.
It was fine.
It was totally successful. I got a green dragon on my ship. Oh, we punked you. Otto thinks he has it all, baby.
Otto, little bitch.
He thinks he got it all. Rhaenyra's basically like, give me the night to think about it.
Also, she takes that hand. She goes,
she tosses the hand.
That's just a symbol, just like your fake king on that fake ass throne. She's like, I don't give a.
For a second, when Otto turns to the maester after that, and he pulls out the paper from the book, I thought he was gonna pull out another pen and put it on.
I
thought Otto was gonna be like, I knew you would do that.
I genuinely thought the maester was gonna unravel it and just
put another one on.
I was prepared. I also have another one if you're gonna do it.
I've got 100 of them. Throw them all in the sea.
He's gonna Sir Kristen Cole unravels one. I genuinely thought the exact same thing. But then when it wasn't, I was like, honestly, thank God, because that's too comedic. That would have been too comical.
Daemon is pissed that Rhaenyra is not moving quickly or aggressive enough in this situation, but she is not eager to make the first move that would plunge the realm into war. She doesn't want to be that person. She's like her father. She wants kind of to keep the peace of the realm together because she knows about Aegon's dream. Rhaenyra soon discovers that Daemon doesn't know about this dream, has no idea what the Song of Ice and Fire is, and he responds aggressively when confronted with that, choking her. I mean, that was intense. He never liked Viserys' omens and portents, as he puts it. He says, quote, dreams didn't make us kings, dragons did. But Viserys feels a certain way about those dragons.
He always has.
Yeah.
Also, that scene was like, I genuinely, and I'm sure I'm like a lot of people watching, maybe not, that was like, oh my God, but they love each other. Like, they love each other.
Oh, but they love each other.
And then when I saw this scene, I was like, I need to remember that Daemon's not a good character.
No.
Daemon's not a good guy. He's violent and he's aggressive and he's hot-headed. And of course, that stuff will translate into their marriage eventually. And it's starting here. We're seeing it already. Like, she is the queen. He is not the king.
Yeah.
Like, he needs to recognize, like, whatever she says goes, and he's like, well, she doesn't know.
Yeah.
I'm older than her. I should have got it. And I'm like, oh God, it's
Remember when Daemon was in the Stepstones and he got the message from his brother that like, hey, I'm coming to help. He beat the messenger to death.
Yeah.
Like, he is hot-headed.
Yes.
He is very temperamental.
He is very temperamental and very dangerous, and I do not like him as much as I like Aemon. I switched from him to Aemon.
Oh, okay.
But not anymore after the ending of this episode. Anyways. Okay, so Rhaenys and Corlys finally reunite, and he wakes up, and I was like, look at my man.
He's like, I've whipped boys for falling asleep on the watch. And she's like, not today, Corlys.
She said, you
not
left
today.
me. When she said that, I was like, this is exactly how I'd react. I'd be like, oh, jokes, huh?
Oh, jokes?
Jokes? Do you know what I was? You know what I was doing? Yeah. You laughing it up, sleeping in that bed like Viserys, you dead man. Anyways, Rhaenys is pissed. He abandoned her, as I would be too. I know that it was like his sickness, but still, I was left with a lot. She tells him about Daemon. Corlys says they shall declare for no one, but Rhaenys reminds them that their grandchildren will always be a threat from Aegon.
Yeah. Corlys, who's been gone for 6 years, sick, almost dies, wakes up and is like, oh, don't worry, honey. We're just going to forget all this and live on Driftmark. And she's like, you fucking idiot.
We lost
cannot do that.
We only have two family members left. Your brother's dead.
Yeah.
Like, and then on top of that, they're now connected to the person that we think killed our son.
Yeah.
Why are you waking up saying we're just going to run away? It's all going to be,
she's like, your brother's dead. And he's like, oh. And she's like, well, he tried to take your crown and he also called your grandchildren bastards. And he's like, okay.
He said, well.
He was always a problem.
He said, well, we always are temperamental. It was such a fast brush.
I don't need to avenge that.
You mean my brother? Fine. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. I don't like him anymore.
Do we have his body? Okay, so Rhaenyra also points out that Rhaenyra is the only, I hate that their names are so close. Rhaenys also points out that Rhaenyra is the only one keeping a level head, which is true, and thus the realm is a relative place of peace, which, like her dad, she's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Except for Daemon's being a dick about it. Later at the painted table, Corlys supports Rhaenyra's claim and bows. He reveals that he now controls the Stepstones and that they can create a blockade to King's Landing. Rhaenys is happy to help with melees.
I love that, like, for all we've heard of the Triarchy, we saw a little bit of their fighting. Finally, it's over.
It's just done.
The Triarchy is gone. It's like, okay, great. I'm sure they'll be back again.
Yeah,
because you guys can never get rid of them for good.
Uh-huh.
He's like, no, this time we built a garrison. It's going to be safe now.
My favorite and least favorite thing about this series is knowing Game of Thrones and being like, well, okay, you guys aren't going to live that long.
The hubris.
It's the same with Rings of Power. When they were at Numenor, I was like, okay.
Okay, enjoy the city, folks.
It's gorgeous for now. The kids fly to Arryn, Stark, and Baratheon to check on their allegiances. Rhaenyra makes Luke and Jace swear on the Seven that they won't fight, just deliver messages.
I love her. She's like, bring the book. We didn't see the book off screen, and she's like, swear on the book. And they're like, we don't even believe in this religion,
it's like,
okay.
Sorry to spoil this, you guys. Luke wasn't going to survive even if he was given the right to fight against Aemon.
Let Luke fight.
Yeah, please. Of all the Targaryens, Jesus Christ.
I love how Luke was like, yeah, I won't fight, I promise. It's like, all right, buddy. We just saw you get your ass kicked on the beach by your brother.
Yeah, by your brother. And they said, go easy.
Go easy on him.
When they said go easy, I was like, okay, I'll say that to Sir Criston Cole when he's punching my head in.
Yeah, right.
Either way, she makes them swear on the Seven that they won't fight, just deliver the messages. Yeah. Luke is clearly scared shitless. And we know he is because since the beginning he's been like, I don't want to do this. And before Mother tells him that she suspects he will receive a very warm welcome.
I'm sure he'll get a very warm welcome at Storm's End.
And then, this is the thing about the show. We read the book, so we know a lot of the spoilers. We know how it goes. And I still fall for it every time.
I know.
I genuinely am like, I think that's just the perks of media and like entertainment. Is like it gets you to love people. Right. It gets you to love people no matter what. Even the book didn't do it that well. And I was like, oh, I love this kid. He's not gonna die anytime soon. End of the first season. End of the first season.
You know, we all love Ned Stark too, but off with his head.
Did we? Did we?
So Daemon goes to check on an unclaimed dragon in the Dragon Mount, that big volcano. He sings a sweet little song in High Valyrian, so adorable.
Yes, he does.
And this dragon is Vermithor. Vermithor?
I thought it was
Vehemithor? Vermithor.
You say your word.
So this is the former dragon of King Jacaerys the Conciliator. This was Daemon's grandfather, also Viserys' grandfather. He was the one we saw at the very beginning of this season, the old man who had to decide who had the Great Council to decide who would be the next king. This is his dragon who no one claimed after he died.
And this one is just as like big as
so this is like
Vhagar.
A very old dragon, over 100 years old, and it's the second biggest dragon after Vhagar.
Okay.
So and you see the scar on its snout. Like this dragon has seen fights.
The breath of fire, it held it for like a full minute, and I said, you really gonna try to steal this. You really gonna try to own it.
I like how this dragon's like, I'm retired, get out of here.
We'll get into it, because that's how I feel about Vhagar.
I love the eye, how it like meshed in his eye.
I hate I hate Vhagar, but I love Vhagar at the same time, because Vhagar's like, I'm just old as hell.
Vhagar's like,
I'm just old as hell.
Who's that? What did I just eat? What's happening? Where am I? Should have left me on the beach.
Stop.
So good. Our good little boy Lucerys shows up to Storm's End on Arrax, his cute, tiny little dragon.
His baby.
And he discovers Vhagar is already there, looming over the walls, which means Aemond is there as well.
I would have turned around so quick.
I know. I would have just left.
I would have left, dude. Easily.
He had a job. His mom sent him on a job. Boris Baratheon is amused by the strange jockeying for positioning in House Targaryen. He receives Rhaenyra's message via Lucerys, but we also learn that our boy Boros can't read. Little Leah Michelle action. Old Boris Baratheon can't read, I guess. I don't know. He's like, we're at the maester. Also, he's putting a lot of trust in this maester to tell him what's on this piece of paper. Oh my gosh.
Leah, come on the show and tell us you can't read, damn it.
Stop. It's not funny, girl. It's clear that Boros is already Team Green. Like, he is not even playing nice here. He's like, I'm not interested in this.
He goes, who's going to marry my daughter?
Yeah, well, Aemond is promised to wed one of Boros' daughter, a lovely little Baratheon, the dark-haired girl, in exchange for his loyalty. Luke cannot do the same. He's already promised to Rhaena. He's going to marry her, his cousin or sister, stepsister. I don't know. They are related.
Not by blood, but
I guess not. Well,
no, not by blood, because they're not laners at all. But by marriage.
Anyways, they're technically related. So he can't do the same. He's already betrothed, right? Boris is also insulted by Rhaenyra's message, which is basically like, remember what your dad promised. And Boris is like, I'm the man now. I can't read. Before Lucerys is able to leave, though, Aemon wants one of Luke's eyes as payment for his own. He shows us his cute little sapphire eye he's got in there.
Blue-eyed white man.
And this positioning is very interesting because remember, this is where a young Rhaenyra went when she was like meeting suitors, and that's where we saw a baby Blackwood cut open an older boy, right? So it's like, oh, are we gonna have the same fight happen? We're gonna have this older versus younger fight. Does this mean little Luke can put up a fight? I don't think so. And Boris is like, no fighting in my house. This guy came here as an envoy. He's protected. I won't have this blood spilt here. So Luke tries to leave, and Aemon gives pursuit on Vhagar, and we see just how much bigger Vhagar is than little baby Arryns. The dragons appear to ignore their riders, which is very important here. Arryns tries to put up a little fight, which pisses off Vhagar. Both the time, like, you know, Luke's like, no, and Aemon's like, no. But they kind of fight each other, and Lucerys is just ripped from the skies, eaten by Vhagar, and Arryns is gone as well. So we're down a kid, down a dragon. Rhaenyra is not pleased when she hears the news. She nearly doubles over in pain. She feels it immediately, just kind of like we saw at the beginning of the episode when she got bad news. She turns to face the camera, ready for war. And this is a shot mirroring the end of the shot in episode 1 where we saw a younger Rhaenyra turn around to face the people who had just pledged their oath to them. And now she's turning it around again. And she is definitely not playing around anymore. She's lost two children in this episode. The dance of the dragons has begun.
I never, even book-wise, I'm never avenged for Luke. Right. Luke, and then also like which we might get into later in the book, they said there were so many like what it could have been. Yeah. It was like 3 routes. It was like people were like, oh, he fell off the dragon. Right. He's actually alive and now he's just like weird and crazy and no one knows who he is. There's so many different stories. How did they figure out that he died? How did Daemon figure out so quickly?
I assume that
Or unless it's been a day or 2, you think?
Yeah, I assume that Daemon, just by the fact that we know it's close, remember, it's a quick dragon ride. He doesn't come back. I would also assume maybe Daemon went to go check real fast and found pieces.
Do you think Daemon followed?
Oh, that's.
But then just watched.
Well, I think he would have intervened.
Well, actually, I don't think he would have because it's like Vhagar is Vhagar.
Right.
You saw how Vhagar's literal like canine tooth was ripped through that tiny dragon.
I don't know. Well, we'll get into all that, but first we want to remind you to check out newrockstarsmerch.com, where there's still time to grab our latest Obsession shirt, Ash and Ruin, inspired by House of the Dragon. This limited edition shirt won't be available for much longer, so be sure to grab one before it's devoured in the sky by an angry Vhagar.
Stop making those jokes.
Check out all the great merch options we have over at newrockstarsmerch.com. Okay, Jessica, let's get into this one, all right? Because this was a great end to the season. There's so much more to come, so many questions left. But I think we got to address like the big question we have right now. Was Viserys actually the dreamer that he always wanted to be? Because I think we've seen a lot of his prophecies come true, okay? We had early on, remember, he told, in the first episode, he tells his wife, Emma, I'm going to have a son and he's going to be wearing the Conqueror's crown. And Emma's like, I was not birthed that way. He's not birthed at all. It doesn't survive. The baby doesn't survive. But we now have a son of Viserys wearing the Conqueror's crown, sitting on the throne. So that prophecy has kind of come true, right? And now I think the biggest prophecy we need to remember here is in the first episode when Viserys is talking to a young Rhaenyra and they're at the skull of Balerion, the Black Dread, and he says, quote, "The idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. They're a power man never should have trifled with, one that brought Valyria its doom." We see here how Aemond and Jacaerys both don't, or Lucerys, I apologize, both aren't unable to control their dragons. Aemond says it in both English and High Valyrian, like, no, obey me, like, listen to me, and they don't. And this whole Dance of the Dragons is going to get set off by literal dragons. It's up to the dragons to fight. And so, you know, I think Viserys is true. He was also right about the stepstones. Remember when he did not want to get involved with the War of the Triarchy. He's like, it's going to be a problem, blah, blah, blah. And Daemon was like, no, we need to go in there. We can wipe this out. Cut to 4 years later, and they have this like long, drawn-out war in the stepstones. It's still not resolved. They get that resolved, and then it kicks up again, and it almost gets Corlys killed. Like, Viserys was right about a lot of things.
The thing is, which is, it's like, okay, so I will first say, I do think he's a dreamer. I said this in the last episode.
Right.
But I also think his dreams are very vague. It's like, yeah, the chance, like, if gambling's real, he's like, my son will wear a crown. You have 12 sons. So it's like, given, yeah, it's probably going to happen.
At the time, he had 0.
Okay, well, I'm just saying in the future, you're probably going to have a lot of kids, and your kids will have kids.
Maybe.
And those kids will have kids. So technically, by proxy, you have like 12, 40 kids.
Right.
And then the same goes for like, yeah, it's like, they're going to be our downfall. Yeah, they're dragons. That's like being like, God is going to be our downfall.
But that's a big thing for, I mean, but in that example you just made, Jessica, that would be like saying, that would be like the Pope saying the God is going to be our downfall.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, of course he
is. The Targaryens.
What?
Maybe. The Targaryens, their whole thing is dragons. It's their house sigil.
Yeah.
It's what they believe in. They see themselves as like gods almost. You know, Rhaenyra kind of brings that up here. Like they have different gods. Like they see things totally differently. So for Viserys to be like, dragons are our main problem, that's like a wild thing for a Targaryen to say, right?
It's wild, but it's like, it's been true. And
well,
I'm
true.
sure the
We
first
know that
person,
it's true.
I'm sure the first person was like, this is probably a bad idea.
Right.
But like being able to conquer one does make you, like their whole bloodline is just egos. Is just like, we deserve this and we want it and we're going to get it because we have dragons. And it's like, yeah, of course, something that's a loose cannon is going to be your downfall. I'm sure the first guy that did it in your family was like, this is dangerous. Like there's been a lot of maesters or the whatevers that died from handling these dragons. But I think I don't think that he's not a dreamer. I said in the last breakdown or the last our podcast that I was like, I believe him. I believe that there are people that are dreamers, and I think the dreamers are the ones that are notoriously never on dragonback. Like
he's definitely a dreamer, and that makes me think I wish he had interacted more with Helaena, because it's clear they're setting up Helaena to be a dreamer. And if maybe he was talking with her, he could have been like, hey, we should listen to Helaena here.
Well, to us, we're like, clearly she's something. But to them, they're probably like, she's just a little off. She's a little cuckoo.
And the show established that he didn't really interact with his other kids, right? Aegon's always like, do you love me, Daddy? And he's like, I don't know who you are.
He said, Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra's my only child.
My love.
That's a bad thing, right? You should have been paying more attention to this, because I think it would have been helpful. And I mean, all of these ideas that he's a dreamer, if Alicent really takes that to heart, you know, he had that speech with her at the bonfire at the hunt, like, I'm a dreamer, and he lays it all out. That's her thing, where she's like, well, I have to do what he says. He said Aegon's the prince that was promised. She's getting it wrong, but
still, no one has corrected. No, and not even correct. I don't need someone getting corrected. I just want them to be like, well, there's another one named Aegon. I just want that. I just want that that said and brought to his attention. As soon as they say, but what about my son Aegon? Like, then I'll be like, okay, good. At least someone brought it up.
But when Otto's on the bridge and he's like, oh, the king changed his mind, even Rhaenyra's like, okay, yeah, right. She has the same reaction that everyone had to Alicent last episode, when Alicent's like, the king changed his mind, and they're all like, yeah, sure, okay.
Also, also, the Greens have some balls that keep showing up here to a place riddled with dragons. No, like, they're so lucky Rhaenyra's a nice person, because if it was just Daemon, I'd be like, you guys can't show up.
Well, in a way, you know, I think Otto and the Greens, they're trying to provoke Rhaenyra to act.
Oh, absolutely.
Because 100%. She will look like a rebellious, like, dangerous person coming in on a dragon, causing all this drama. Like, they kind of want her to react, because they want her to start 100%. Off this war so that they can finish it.
100%. And also they need, I think we talked about this before, they need as much bad, like, just recognition that Rhaenyra is the bad one, they're the good one.
Yes.
Because right now, their king is known for having a bunch of children and forcing them to fight in a ring and assaulting a lot of people. So this news with Aemond not being able to control Vhagar, which I'm sure he's never going to translate to Alicent and Otto, being like, no, he didn't listen to me. Like, he's never going to say that, is another mark of like, great, now you slayed like the princess's son. You idiot. We look horrible. So
I hope that's how season 2 starts out. It's like him showing back up and it's like, I did it on purpose.
I will pitch it right now. I'm not going to put money on it. Season 2, episode 1, Alicent slaps the shit out of him. That's what we're going to see. She's going to start treating him. She's going to start treating him like Aegon.
Like Aegon.
Because, oh my God, you saw his face. He's like, holy shit, I just killed.
Yeah.
Like,
he's very concerned.
He's well, now Corlys is back, I don't think so, but he was supposed to be the of Driftmark.
He was going to be
Driftmark, of
yeah, Driftmark.
Was it Driftmark?
He was going to be the Lord of the Tides.
Yeah, he was going to be Lord of the Tides.
And he never wanted to be. And he never will be.
I'm going to smack you. I'm going to smack you like Aemon.
Well, we have a lot more to talk about, so many more questions. But first, we want to thank our sponsors for our show today. Sponsors like Avast. Hopefully, we'll never have to worry about someone stealing the throne right from underneath us. But one thing we do have to worry about is cybercrime. Thankfully, Avast is a global leader in cyber protection for more than 30 years and trusted by millions of users. They prevent over 1.5 billion attacks every month. Way to go, Avast. Avast's new all-in-one solution, Avast One, helps you take control of your safety and privacy online through a range of features. Avast's free version includes all the essential features such as free antivirus, free VPN, and free firewall protection. But Avast's premium version has even more advanced protection and allows you to protect multiple devices. A vast multitude of features provide you with privacy and security as you scour the web and even help your machine's performance. I personally like their award-winning antivirus that stops viruses and malware from harming my devices, as well as their data breach monitoring that will alert me if my online accounts have ever been compromised, which is really nice because companies don't like to do that. They don't like to admit they were compromised, but Avast One will do that for you. And their ransomware protection also secures my personal photos, documents, and other files from being modified, deleted, or encrypted by ransomware attacks. Thanks to Avast for supporting Big Question today. Confidently take control of your online world with Avast One. It helps you stay safe from viruses, phishing attacks, ransomware, hacking attempts, and other cybercrimes. Learn more about Avast One at avast.com. We also want to thank OneTree for sponsoring the show today. Go deeper into the canals of Numenor, the mines of Khazad-dûm, and more with the official Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power podcast. Host Felicia Day and several special guests provide an inside look at the groundbreaking series at what it took to bring Middle-earth to life. Each episode of the official podcast features exclusive interviews with the series showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, including the very first full breakdown of the incredible season finale. Felicia also goes behind the scenes with the cast and crew to bring you jaw-dropping stories and Easter eggs you won't want to miss. Watch The Rings of Power on Prime Video and listen to all eight episodes of the official The Lord of the Rings of Power podcast for free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app right now. Okay, Jessica, another question for you today. Will Aemon take responsibility for killing Lucerys? I think we kind of
define responsibility.
He's going to show back up and he's going to be like, I did it on purpose. Yeah. He's not going to admit that, like, I didn't have control of Vhagar.
Yeah, I think he'll, because Aemon is a very, what happened was very dumb on his behalf.
He wasn't there to kill
No,
Luke.
He wasn't. And I know.
He knows that's going to cause a lot of drama.
He knows that would be horrible for them. Especially because for a man that wants to be king, how are you going to make, because he's technically.
He's a kinslayer.
He's a kinslayer now. Yeah. So he's never going to be king now.
This is what Rhaenys did not want to do. Whenever, even Daemon was like, you didn't burn them all alive when they're right there. Like, being a kinslayer is a bad thing.
Is a horrible thing, and now he is one.
As Aemon loves to point out, he's the uncle here, right? And, like, him killing his nephew, especially a nephew who is sent as an envoy, diplomatic purposes, was not provoked, boom.
Honestly, good for Rhaenyra, but also bad for Rhaenyra. Bad for Rhaenyra, but ultimately, like, politically wise, oof. Are they ever up now? They're up in points.
Well, now you bring this up in the book, right? We don't really know what happens. The book is unreliable narrators. There's different, he either died, he fell off his dragon, or he disappeared, or he was killed by Aemon on purpose. The only two people there were Aemon and Lucerys, right?
Yeah.
So, and Lucerys cannot speak to what happened. So it's all going to be Aemon's account.
Or someone that saw it lose. Because Luke got to the part of the clouds where it's not stormy and it's beautiful.
We got above the storm.
We got above the storm. And then he's going to fall to the ground. And if it's a short distance, there is someone that could have seen something. And I'm assuming that, until we see it next season, I'm assuming that Daemon saw it. Because how the hell, unless it's been a couple days. We don't know the time. But it's like, that was so quick. Okay, so either way, will Aemon take responsibility? I think he's going to tell his parents straight up. I think he's going to tell Alicent and Otto straight up what happened. Yeah. But he's not going to say that it was by accident. Because why would you ever want to give up you're weak. And your dragon doesn't like you. You weren't even given a dragon. You had to, control this one. Right. And then only to be told that, the dragon doesn't even listen to you.
Yeah. He doesn't want to know that. And, if we ascribe to the idea that these dragon riders have a psychic connection with their dragon. In a way, it could. I believe that Vhagar's like, I don't care what you're saying to me right now. This little dragon just blew fire on my face. I'm going to teach it a lesson, right? But also in the back of Aemon's head, if he's like, man, I just want to kill this kid so bad right now.
Well,
if Vhagar takes that as a sign of psychically, oh, this is what my rider wants. I'm going to do it.
I get that, but I that's the thing. I think that he doesn't have that connection. I think Vhagar's just so old and is just like,
I've been through writers.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, get on my back. But like
flea on my back.
This, I think more of the thing to look at in this is the fact that he can't control the oldest, strongest dragon, and that is very dangerous for the realm.
That's true.
Because what happens when the dragon is just like, you don't say Jacaerys, and the dragon blows an entire army away.
Yeah. What if the dragon eats one of the Green's dragons? Right? Just as like, did you just bump me? I'm gonna eat you.
You told me the story. I forget which person it was, and edit this out if this is a spoiler. I don't think it is. The dragon that took the little girl all the way away, and she came back completely destroyed.
This was like King Jacaerys' sister or like cousin or something like that, or niece. I believe it was his niece. She was angry and she was kind of rebellious. She hopped on the back of the Black Dread, who's dead now, and was gone for like a year. And everyone's like, oh, she stole it. But when she came back, she was like burnt up and had like creatures living inside of her and like was burning from the inside and basically died.
Yeah.
They think Balerion took her to like Valeria, where there's like all sorts of weird creatures now.
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, Vhagar eventually is.
Vhagar may not just listen.
Yeah, Vhagar's just not going to listen.
Just take off.
And unless someone kills the dragon, which is possible, Vhagar might just be like, I'm going to be reckless and be a random dragon wherever I want.
It's also keen to point out that this is probably the first person that Aemond has killed.
Oh, yeah.
Aemond hasn't really taken a life yet. And he's a big guy. He's got a lot of bravado. He's ready to fight. He's ready to throw fists. But he hasn't killed someone yet, as far as we know. So this is a big deal. I mean, technically, he didn't really do this. Like, the dragon did it without him. But he set these events in motion. He didn't have to follow Luke. So this is totally his fault. Even if the dragons do this on their own, like, you set this in motion.
I also think you have to be, like, which is probably not true, but just like fully blooded Targaryen for your dragon to really listen to you.
Well, but according to Viserys, like that's not even true. Like
it's not
anyone
true.
Could ride a dragon.
Anyone can ride a dragon.
The Targaryens have set this idea that they have this power.
No, I believe that, but it's just like, okay, it's not listening to Aemon, and it's not listening to Luke, and we just got to keep watching it. Maybe Jacaerys' dragon will be like close enough because they're older, but it's still like. So far from what I've seen, if you are not 100%, I guess, well, no, because Emma wasn't. Really? Emma wasn't a Targaryen?
She was part Targaryen.
She was part Targaryen. So, okay,
she was also the daughter of a Baratheon, I believe.
So it only seems like the dragons really do listen to Daemon and Rhaenyra. And because I'm like, I have not seen how Helena's with her dragon. Right. I haven't seen how Aegon's with his dragon. Yeah.
There's also the idea that back on Old Valyria, right, there was a lot of magic involved that they don't seem to do anymore. You know, Daemon and Rhaenyra had like an old school Valyrian wedding with a little blood magic stuff. But like, we don't see as much as the blood magic. You know, Viserys brought up blood mages and stuff on Old Valyria, how they would help control the dragons. And it's like the magic is gone, and now it's just like straight. You use a little High Valyrian, a little brute force, and you ride the dragon. And there maybe is this connection, but in theory, anyone could do it. So I don't know.
Have we not seen baby Aegon yet? Is baby Aegon still a baby?
Baby Aegon is probably still a baby. Not much time has passed since they showed it to Viserys. Like, it's still pretty much a baby.
And when I say baby Aegon, because there's 3 Aegons.
Rhaenyra's child.
This is Rhaenyra's Aegon.
Rhaenyra and Daemon's child, Aegon. Yes. Okay. My next question for you, Jessica. Why did Viserys never share a Song of Ice and Fire with his bro Daemon?
Because his bro was never meant to be king. He was never meant to rule.
But you don't think this is an important thing to tell your brother?
I think you tell the people, A, that you trust, which he gives right not to trust Daemon.
Right.
And then whoever's going to be next in line to take the throne. And that's why he never told Alicent. But I think that's why he told Rhaenyra, because he was like, you're going to be the next in throne. You need to know how to take care of a kingdom. And also keep this in mind.
And however you think about the way Viserys, the peaceful, chose to rule.
Which is showing itself now.
Peace in the realm. And he's a dreamer, and he believes in these dreams. And he's like, I have to keep this peace because it's my job to prepare the realm for this danger from the north that is coming, and it could come any day now. We know it doesn't happen for another like 150 years. But like to him, it's gonna come right now, and that's how Rhaenyra approaches this whole situation, right? She's like, I have to make sure that my sons are ready. This could happen any day now, and that's also why she's hesitant to jump into a war right now.
Yeah, 100%.
And Daemon's like, come on, let's go. I also think it's telling that Viserys never made Daemon hand, which is what Daemon wanted more than anything. But Viserys knew that Daemon was like hot-headed, had a temper, was ready to fly off the handle. And I'm sure during his youth, Viserys is always going to his brother like, Daemon, I had another dream, and that's what's going to happen. And Daemon's like, I don't want your portents and your visions and your omens. I want to get out there and fight. And Viserys is like, oh, I can't trust old Daemon with these problems. And maybe even Viserys told Daemon about the Song of Ice and Fire, and Daemon doesn't even remember. He's like, just another one of those dumb dreams.
Because he did say that he was like, my brother was a liar. Like, he didn't believe in the dragons. He believed in this. And
he thought it was foolish. He thought it was a waste of time. And he watched his brother waste away. You know, he thinks, he was immediately like, my brother was killed. Yeah. And, you know, back when he saw him last, he was like, it was kind of intuited that he thought he was being poisoned. Not just the milk of the poppy, but like, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, like, was there something else in this tea that he thought they were slowly poisoning his brother. He always just wanted to be with his brother, to protect his brother, and to keep the Targaryens in charge. You know, when he looks at that crown and he sees that dragon sigil, he's like, we've got to use these dragons. We've got to do this now. Let's go to Harrenhal. Let's surround King's Landing. Let's burn them.
Which horrible that Luke died. I love Luke. Right. But like, is now a clear indication, like, having a lot of dragons doesn't mean shit right now. Like, Vhagar ripped through. Literally didn't even finish the bite and the dragon was gone. Right away. That's how big Vhagar is. And when they're like, because everyone's like, well, we have more dragons. And I'm like, yeah, but they have Vhagar. Vhagar eats dragons. This baby dragon cannot eat Vhagar.
Well, and Rhaenyra's like, I don't want to rule over ash and bone. Like, what's the point of burning everything?
What's the point?
Because, you know, Maegor the Cruel, like, he used his dragons all the time, and it didn't work, you know, like, everyone hated it.
And that's why I was nervous about Rhaenys, but it seems like no one really cares anymore. When Rhaenys broke through the floor, I was like, more reason for the small folk to be afraid of
I mean, they're not going to forget that day for sure.
I wouldn't. I'd be like, I'm never going to vote for another Targaryen because I don't want these dragons ripping through my... Oh, sorry.
Adorable.
I forgot.
Like the small folk get to vote. Oh, you precious summer child.
I forgot we didn't get to vote.
You could vote to have your head on a spike. That's what you could vote for.
I'm like, ooh. Ooh, please. Ooh.
Yeah, that moment when Daemon, she's kind of like... You don't know about the Song of Ice and Fire? He's like, don't start with me.
I was also like, oh, this is the
start. And she's already kind of telling Jacaerys about it. She's like prepping him like, hey, I'm in charge. We need to stay in charge. There's destiny. There's important things we have to do to keep this realm in check. So you got to get with it.
Get with it.
But Daemon is left out of the loop. Okay, Jessica, I got another question for you here. Does Rhaenyra really have all these dragons under her control that, as Daemon claims? As we talk about these dragons, they don't really listen. You know, Daemon points out that the Greens have like 3 adult dragons. Yeah. You know, they obviously have Vhagar, which is a big one. You know, they've got Sunfire, who is Aegon's dragon. Helena's got a dragon. So they got a few adult dragons, and they got like a baby one on the way, right? But the Blacks, as he points out, they've got Syrax, they've got Caraxes, they got Meleys, even though initially Rhaenys is like, well, you don't have Meleys yet.
I love when they kept adding her, and she kept being like...
She kept giving these awkward, like, we'll get back to that. We'll circle back to that one.
When? Where?
Yeah, they've got Vermax, which is Jacaerys' dragon. They had Erex, R.I.P. And they've got Tyraxes, who is the dragon for Joffrey, which we haven't seen yet. And Baelish got Moondancer. Adorable little Moondancer. Don't roll your eyes at the bad name Moondancer.
That's a stupid name. I hate
it. He starts listing off the unclaimed ones. Remember, Rhaena, Baelish's twin sister, does not have one. Her eyes lit up a little bit. She's like, unclaimed dragons, you say? So Sea Smoke, as we pointed out, it's still back at Driftmark. That's Laenor's old dragon. Vermithor, who it looks like, that's Jacaerys' dragon. He's the big dog. That's who Daemon's going to go and try and get. We have Silverwing. Now, this was Queen Alysanne's dragon. That was just Jacaerys' sister wife. So another old dragon, powerful, has been flying around. And then he brings up 3 wild dragons hanging out. And then a score incubating is what he says. Yeah. We have a score incubating, like the little eggs he's been taking. So do they really have this dragon power? Or is this like, Daemon's kind of like overplaying his hand? I mean, Rhaenyra points out that these are untested battle dragons.
I think, going back to what I said earlier about the Targaryens, and I think like purebloods, but I think like Rhaenyra spent a lot of time with her dragon. Growing up, it was like her and her dragon. She was like, I'm going to ride this shit. I'm going to go hang out with my dragons. And I think she actively would, like Daemon, was learning more about dragons and being like, this is our family's thing, this is it. And I think we need to remember, like, when the kids were training with the dragons, none of them were really like in it with the dragon. They were just like, yeah, whatever, here's my High Valyrian, like, I'm trying. But like Rhaenyra and Daemon take that shit to heart. So I think Rhaenyra will be able to go to like even the baby dragons and be able to be like, and like it will like connect with her because she's just been with it since birth. Like her and Daemon have always been doing this with dragons. Viserys wasn't, so it's like they have a different pool than the children probably do, and they learn differently than the children do. They were more in it than the children are.
It's interesting because we saw Jacaerys kind of struggling with High Valyrian a couple episodes ago. So it's like you have that side of it, but then you also show like Aemond, you know, when he's on Vhagar and he's losing control, he's saying in English and High Valyrian, he's like, no, listen to me. And it's almost like, is Alicent not as good at teaching the High Valyrian to her Targaryen kids? But then Rhaenyra is having trouble with her half-strong kids getting... So it's like they're both not also, great, well-equipped to ride these dragons.
I think the fact is like... And also, Aemon, open both your eyes. See, you... Dummy, you didn't get a dragon. You didn't connect with a dragon. What makes you think that you can just grab one, dude? Especially like the oldest, strongest dragon. So it's like... Not even having the most temperamental dragon. It's just like there might be a reason why you didn't connect with a dragon. A dragon didn't hatch for you. You don't connect. You get a pig. You get a
pig. Pink dread.
You get the pink dread, baby. So I just think he has a lot. They're gonna. The Greens are in so much trouble.
The Greens need to up their dragon game real quick.
Otto is
Unless
literally
they got some hatching that we don't know about.
They don't. The second episode, or the first episode, second season, will be Otto literally having a migraine. Otto will be like, I don't know which grandkid to beat up first. Yeah. Who am I hitting?
Which of these grandkids am I going to throw fists at?
Who do I hit first?
You're about to see both hands of the king. Bah, bah, bah.
Also, it's like, okay, I can't spoil anything. I can't spoil anything.
Next question, Jessica. Are Rhaenyra and Daemon still a team, or are their goals too different at this point?
Absolutely not. I think this was the turning point.
Kind of like... That choke was intense.
It was a lot.
And I think it really showed Rhaenyra, like, okay, this guy's always going to be a problem. And, like, he's constantly not listening to her this episode. Constantly pushing his way of doing things. You know, he never really wanted the Iron Throne, right? But he just wanted to rule with his brother. He kind of wanted to have that power. And here he's like, I don't need to be you can be the queen. You're the queen. You're the queen, honey. But I'm going to push my armies around. I'm going to do this.
He wants to be Otto to Alicent.
We're going to take over. And he hates Otto. I mean, he cannot wait to kill Otto. He pulls his sword out on that bridge. He's like, let's go. Let's go on this bridge right now. But she won't let him have it. And I think this is going to just push them further apart.
100%. This is the start of something bad.
I mean, the fact that he ignored her cries for him when she's like in these labor pains.
He did the same freaking thing to his
second
wife.
He killed his wife.
He killed his first wife. He ignored the second one.
Well, he didn't ignore it. He didn't say.
Okay.
To his credit, he didn't say. She is on the ground. Cut her open. Let's go.
No, but she is on the ground.
He doesn't make a choice.
At least freaking Viserys went to Emma and was like, baby, baby.
That's true.
Like he literally was just like, she's screaming a lot.
Right.
She's screaming a lot, and I've been stabbed, so I know how it feels. He's like comparing the two.
Yeah.
Either way. 100%, this is the downfall, and I also, if it wasn't the downfall, I'd be shook, because, again, I need to remember, and I think a lot of people do, that Daemon is not a good character.
Right.
He is a bad guy, and he does a lot of bad things out of just his own selfishness, and I think this is the start of it, of him being like, why the hell is she ruling? And also, like, the freaking math doesn't add up for him to be okay with Rhaenyra taking the throne, you know? Like, he's like, I'm older. I've worked under my brother. I've seen everything. I've done more than you have. I've gone to war. I should be the one putting in orders.
Yeah, I think he doesn't want to wear the crown, but he wants to be in charge.
I think he wants to do what Otto's doing for Alicent.
Right.
And it's just like Rhaenyra, like Daemon, are very driven. And so I think it's just going to be temperamental, and they're going to start to hate each other.
I mean, speaking of those crowns, this is a little side question. How do they always fit perfectly on the head?
I want one. I want one.
I thought about it last episode when they go to put the Conqueror's crown on Aegon. I was like, do you think they tested first to make sure it just doesn't
Did you not make it that far in the book where all their heads are the same size?
Everyone's got the same size head? This just came off Jacaerys' head, which was maybe falling apart, maybe lost an ear at some point. I don't know. Or Viserys' head.
I think,
and he puts it so perfectly on her head. I'm like, how do these crowns just fit everybody
Targaryens
so well?
not only can they train dragons, they all have the same size head. Their skulls are all the same. Unless it's super inbred, then it's kind of weird.
I just think that like Daemon too, to them kind of going in different directions now, I think it's shown that he doesn't like it when someone gets the upper hand on 100%. Him. It really offends him. 100%. You know, when Sir Criston Cole like unseated him in the jousting, and like gave him a hand afterwards, he bats it away. He's like, I don't want your help. I want people's help. When, you know, him and Rhaenyra have their wild night on the town, and she's like into it, and he's like, I'm not into it anymore. Can't get it up. I'm out of here. Bye. Her at that fireplace scene where he chokes her out, or doesn't choke her out, but chokes her, and she's like, you don't know about this vision? And she makes a little smirk. I think right then he's like, I'm done with this.
That's when the tables turn.
You're not better than me, girl.
I genuinely was like, roast him. I said, roast him, girl.
This guy.
I said, roast him, mother.
She should roast this guy. Speaking of dreamers, Viserys being a dreamer, there was an interesting moment during Rhaenyra's kind of labor pains, and, you know, Daemon is addressing the Kingsguard and testing the dragon. She has these visions of a dragon. Real quickly, they kind of pop into her head, a snarling dragon, a mouth open. Is Rhaenyra a dreamer? Is she a dreamer herself, too? She is a dragon rider. We know that she's a competent dragon rider. But is she also maybe a dreamer? Was this a vision that she was having? What did you take to mean of these, like, dragon faces?
I immediately, and this is just immediately watching, I didn't think twice about it. I immediately thought it was her seeing the baby's dragon in the future.
This baby that she's trying to have
the baby that she's having right now. I think it was the baby's dragon, but not because the baby's dragon is still in the egg. I think it's like later.
We know, you know, Daemon pointed out we've got some eggs incubating. Maybe the egg that I love that idea that this was that dragon.
Yeah, that was that dragon's baby. Because if you did mention it briefly that like maybe since they have that
psychic connection.
Yeah, that connection, maybe her dragon felt her pain. And I was like, well, what if the baby was feeling its connection?
I love that idea of like, this is a dragon that maybe will never hatch. And it, much
that'd
like
be
this
sad.
baby will never be born, that dragon will never be born. No. And it was crying out. Yeah, I mentioned to you earlier, like, I wondered if this, because it was kind of golden. Syrax is kind of golden. I wonder if Syrax was feeling her pain.
Sucked.
And was screaming
I'd be so mad.
Wherever Syrax was. I was also thinking, we know that Aegon has a dragon called Sunfire, which is described as like a very beautiful golden dragon. Was this Sunfire she was seeing? Was she seeing Aegon's dragon for some weird reason? I don't know. Was this like a dream or a vision?
I think it was
a very interesting thing to throw in there.
I like the idea that this is like her starting. Once her father died, it's just like now it's all starting. That she's becoming I think she's
so tuned into the world.
I think she's the ultimate Targaryen. I think she is like the most supreme Targaryen there can be.
The uber Targaryen.
Because not only is she possibly a dreamer, she also holds an army, and she can probably control a lot of dragons.
Right.
So I'm just like, this is the embodiment of the Targaryens. Yeah. So I think she is a dreamer. And I think she'll get these visions when she's maybe in like over the barrier of pain. Like, because it's like not only physically, it's emotionally.
I mean, this episode, she loses her father.
Yes.
She loses 2 children.
Oh, God.
She loses her husband, maybe. Like the alliance she has with her husband.
Whatever, he sucked. And I think she's noticing it. And I love that for her. I'm like, your uncle husband is a piece of shit.
And her claim to the throne has been lost, or at least is in question.
It feels like, just imagine the one day in your life where it felt like everything fell apart. Yeah. And then 10 more times, because not only did she lose everything,
she lost everything. It's all happy after this point. It's all happy stories.
After the sun died? After the sun died?
One last question before we get out of here today, Jessica. Did Alicent make Rhaenyra a good faith offer through Otto here? When Otto shows up, okay, I mean, it's not a bad deal. I mean,
my children being a cupbearer?
She's like, your son, Luke, he can still be Lord of the Tides. Your other son, he'll have a place in the court. You can have Dragonstone, it'll be all yours. All these, your children can come to the court. They can be cupbearers and things like that. All safe place. And I think it was interesting. That page that she's given, we saw this in the episode recap at the beginning, is what she ripped out of the book, when they were friends. Alicent's kept this whole time. And we saw in episode 8 at the dinner before Viserys died, like there was that glimmer of like we can still be friends, we still care about each other. You know, this is very different from the book, this kind of relationship that they have. Do you, and we know that Alicent made moves last week to protect Rhaenyra and her family. Yeah. Do you think that this was a good faith offer? That Alicent was really trying to be like, listen, I stole the crown from you, but we can settle this, we can squash the beef.
No and
yes. We can live on.
No and yes. Because I think Otto stole that page out of her room.
Oh!
I don't think she gave Otto that page. I can stand up, run around the room. Whoa! I don't think. Stop it. Sit back down.
I love that idea.
I don't think she gave that to him. I don't think she was like, here, she'll listen to you this. Because the biggest insult you can give is giving Daemon's kids the possibility to be a cupbearer and servant
Rhaenyra
to
was
the
a
council.
Cupbearer.
Yeah, that was her learning. This isn't learning through Aegon and Aemon. That is the biggest insult. And also, Rhaenyra was a cupbearer because she was a woman. So it's like...
Well, men could be cupbearers.
They can, but her specifically, the princess that was in line to be heir to the throne, to be the throne. Yeah. They were like, well, she can learn by just
she'll be around and she'll hear things.
And if they were a man, they would be sitting at that fucking
table. When she
table.
was a cupbearer and they were having issues, she was like, let me hop on my dragon and go deal with it. And Corlys at the time was like, yeah, listen to this
But the rest of them were like, no.
Go. And the rest of them were like, no. So when her kids are like, let's hop on our dragons and go deal with it, and she's like, yes.
They're like dead.
And now one of her kids is dead because of that.
Oh my God.
So it's almost like... Yeah,
they were right. But also, so Otto, I think, stole that page from Alicent's room and was like, "Remember, you guys are best friends." Because he even brought that up to Alicent and was like, "Are you acting like this because you guys were friends when you were children? Yeah. Like, we don't have time for that." And also, I think Alicent is more thinking about her children, which is nice because I wouldn't. But I think she's thinking about her children first, and she's genuinely like, yeah, I think this is the best offer we can offer her. But it's still like, you think they were going to be nice to the Jacaerys on the council? They were going to treat him like Lord Beesbury, and Sir Christian Cole would have killed him.
Yeah, and we see in Game of Thrones, right, when Cersei is able to use the Stark kids that are in her court.
Yeah, exactly.
As like pawns, and it's like we have them hostages.
There is no good that would have came of that. That was not good faith. It was like Alicent was like, this is probably the best offer we can give, and maybe she'll believe that I'll watch over them. But at the end of the day, the people in that room would have been Otto and Aegon, which would not have been good for Jacaerys.
Well, and Otto is like, yeah, we'll go along with this, and as soon as I get these kids on the boat, I'm going to cut their throats, dude.
So I think he was just trying so hard to like appease to that like young girl that was best friends with his daughter and being like, see, you're controlled by emotion. And she was like, no, I'm not, you fucking idiot.
I mean, I think, Alicent doesn't want to kill them, but I think at the end of the day, she would agree to it.
I can't wait.
She'll be whittled down because she knows how dangerous all this is.
I think so she might not like Aegon. And she...
Might?
She doesn't love Aegon. And she
Do you love me, Mama? You imbecile.
Episode 1 of the second season, you will see she does not love Aemon anymore. But she loves Helena. Yeah, and I think that she recognizes, like, you killed her son.
Right.
That is like killing my baby. Yeah. And this is all we have.
She's
gonna come back and kill us, rightfully so. Yeah. Like, rightfully so.
She's gonna be like, you better hope Vhagar can eat 12 other dragons.
Yeah, because they are gonna they're gonna come for us now.
What an episode. Okay, Jessica, we gotta get out of here. But before we do, we gotta do our final power rankings for this season. Who, at the end of the season, has gained the most power in your eyes? Go. Who's gained the most power here?
I think I'm gonna have to go with Rhaenyra.
Okay.
And so I'm only saying Rhaenyra because we don't know what the messages for the other two people are. We don't know, because they went to the Baratheon, but we don't know the Starks, and we don't know
how the House Arryn has responded, and we don't know the Starks. I mean, we know the Starks. They're gonna keep their oaths. They're good to it.
They're good people, still, we don't know in the series. We don't know for sure. We don't know in the series, and I'm going off of one became a kinslayer, and one is dead. And that one that died...
So you think Rhaenyra looks good here?
Looks so good. Okay. It looks so good for her if people find out, which they've already found out. So it's like, whoo! And then also they got the tides. They got the tides now. Corlys is back.
So they Navy.
Yeah, so it's like, what, they got the Lannister? That everyone hates? That everybody freaking hates?
They got the Lannisters. The Lannisters don't like the Targaryens for sure. I'm going to play devil's advocate here, Jessica. I'm going to say that the Greens and Alicent gained the most power this episode. Because I think, much like you're saying, that whole situation, what Aemon can come back and say is like, yo, we've crowned our king. We got Aegon as king, and these Targaryens, they always be playing, right? They brought this dragon to Storm's End, and we had to protect Storm's End. So our dragon Vhagar protected us from these evil dragons. You saw how evil these dragons are. They came up through the boards. They killed a bunch of small folk.
But your dragon's the scariest looking one.
Yes, but it saved us from these dragons that are coming in. They're going to send more dragons.
Until Vhagar starts eating the small folk out of fun.
Look, we turned the dragon green on our sigil. Whatever. You're safe now. The high towers are here. Don't worry. So I think Alicent's still in a position of power here. I think Otto's got a good point. The whole kingdom saw this kid crowned. And Rhaenyra's going to look, she's going to look crazy coming after it, I think. And they have the Baratheons on their side. They got the Lannisters on their side. They obviously have the high towers on their side.
I think it comes down to like the people and being like, who you gonna believe? Or not who you gonna believe, but who are you siding with?
Who you gonna vote for?
A baby?
Nobody.
Stop it. A baby dying, or a dragon?
I mean, baby's dying a lot in this world.
Yeah, but no one likes it.
No one likes it.
Unless you're the maesters. The new maester, the black guy's fine, but the old one was like...
He was the one that was like... It was all about changing everything. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't trust any maester.
I like that maester.
I don't trust any maester.
That maester was also like, let's get Lord Beesbury's body out of here. Like,
they were like, no, and he was like, okay.
What is he going to do? Fight
no problem.
Get lynched in the fucking courtyard?
You're a maester.
Maesters are only there to dirty up their fingers and shove it in you.
Get the leeches. Okay, who lost the most power this episode? Are we going to be on the opposite sides here?
I think we are, because I think it's... Well, yeah, no, I'll say Alicent. I'm going to say Alicent, specifically Alicent, because she doesn't have any power, clearly. It's Aegon and Otto.
Okay.
And...
Oh, because she's just kind of like...
She's just the wife now. She's just the queen without a husband, without a king.
Right.
So it's like imagine Cersei without any power, because it's like her son's not going to listen to her. Otto's not listening to her. All she has left is like Helena after Aemon just killed her best friend, her stepdaughter, her daughter, son. So it's like, what does she have?
Yeah.
What does she have? Nothing.
She's just
she has the guy that jerks off the feet.
Larys. The wheels are in motion now, and she's just kind of sitting back.
Yeah, what is Larys going to do? Cut off a dragon's foot?
He's going to burn some more people, that's for sure.
And they're going to catch on. They're going to be like, it has to be this
I'm going to argue here that I think Rhaenys and Corlys lost the most power this episode.
I think so too.
They've teamed up with Rhaenyra and the gang, and they're like, let's go. Corlys was like, let's retire. Let's get out of here. And Rhaenys is like, no, we can't. We got grandkids to worry about. We're going to have to keep fighting. And I think it's going to be, I think they're in a powerful position, but they've given up the most agency because their decision was the most important. Now that they've made that decision, I think,
I feel it.
The die is cast and the game will play out as it plays out. And I don't think there's nothing they can do to stop it now.
No, I've always thought they've lost power because
yeah, they've been slowly losing power. They are
literally just. I'm just waiting for the girls to die at this point. And then maybe Corlys and then Rhaenys.
There's not going to be a lot of Valyrians left much longer.
Yeah, they're going to be the first. Are they the first house that goes?
I don't know for sure. I'd have to check out my notes on that one.
What's the first house that goes?
There's been houses that disappear over time.
Yeah, they just go. Yeah, I guess out of the important houses, which one goes first?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait for season 2 to find out. That's it for this episode of Big Question Presents Talking Dragons. We're going to have one more episode of this special edition of Big Question Presents Talking Dragons to give our final thoughts on season 1 of House of the Dragon and the biggest questions that remain as we wait for season 2. So throw your questions in the comments of this episode. Hit us up on Twitter. Let us know what your big questions are or your thoughts for this whole season of House of the Dragon. And we'll go through those next week before we get back to doing some regular Big Question here on the channel, which might look a little different than you remember, but will still be lots of fun. And next week, Jessica, we might even do a little talking Tolkien next week.
Oh, God, I have to go catch up on it?
If you haven't finished Rings of Power, finish it up, and we'll talk about that a little bit last week before we say goodbye to our fantasy shows for now. Don't forget to check out our many great merch options over at newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow Jessica at Lulu_Clemons. Follow me at Brandon Barrick. Make sure to subscribe to Big Question and New Rockstars wherever you watch us or listen to us. Subscribe to New Rockstars on all our social channels. Thanks for watching us today. R.I.P. Our boy Luke. One more time for him, Jacaerys.